Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Ladson-Billings. I am currently Professor Emeritus. I have served on various committees and boards, all committed to the betterment and education of our youth. Over the course of my career, my primary focus has been on how we as educators can teach and achieve academic excellence with African American students. I've written over 100 journals and chapters regarding education, including the book, The Dream Keeper: Successful Teachers of African American Children. This book chronicles one of the things I'm most known for, which is the research I conducted beginning in the 90s of how teachers were successful in achieving academic success with African American students. I believe that all students are equally capable of learning. The difference we see in academic success with African American students versus white and upper middle class students is due to the systemic oppressions within our society. The system is not created to build and achieve success within the African American community. Our school system continues to reflect and project the same bias, creating unfair challenges for Black students. For an example that argues that this is the case, you can look at the studies that I conducted on how teachers have been able to achieve academic success with Black students. First of all teachers examined in the research were not all Black. However, they each portrayed three distinct characteristics that I believe highlight what every effective teacher should possess. Each teacher had a strong focus on student learning. They had cultural competence, which essentially is being fluent in the constructs of more than one culture. And they developed a socio-political awareness in their students. They helped their students understand and see how what they were learning was going to affect them in the real world. One of the major issues with educating Black youth today is that students are forced to fit into one model of how the system believes that they should be. Cultural differences are rarely considered, let alone accounted for when educating these children. In looking at Knowles traditions, I believe that each tradition can have its place. In effectively teaching students, I am more in alignment with the radicalist tradition, although it has been stated that radicalists are trying to create a revolution. And if so, this is the slowest revolution I have ever seen. But I am most in line with this perspective because it understands the connection between education and the political system. Additionally, it acknowledges the goal of keeping equality in the curriculum at all times. However, if the three constructs or characteristics of teachers are present, then any of these theories essentially can make great gains. One educator that I deeply respect is Margaret Collins. I had the privilege of observing her teaching practice. She had a very Eurocentric and therefore somewhat systemic approach to education. However, her African American students have achieved as great of success as their white counterparts. Even I myself cannot say that my position fits squarely within the radicalist perspective. I see many benefits to a pragmatic curriculum that focuses on means and methods and can have a curriculum that changes based on the needs of the students at any given time. The same goes for the deliberative model. It acknowledges the existence and importance of the socio-political connection to education. And I agree with the fact that it embraces moral philosophy and encourages youth to learn by means of problem solving. But it's just a little too fluid in its constructs. Without having a solid ground that you stand on and a goal that you're focusing on to achieve, how can you expect drastic changes to be made? Now, while the existentialist curriculum is probably the furthest from my ideals and effective curriculum, allowing students to have a part in choosing their own curriculum can be beneficial. It allows them to find something that they can relate to based on their own experience and culture. Of course, this is not to say that there aren't certain aspects within society that students do need to learn, which is why I cannot completely agree with this tradition either. But my point is, with the focus of the three constructs, focusing on the needs of students, believing and instilling the belief that all your students are capable of achieving academic success, and being fluent in the workings and structures of your students' culture, then the application of the various traditions becomes less important. In looking at the theorists themselves, I would say that my viewpoint is most in line with Michael Apple. And interestingly, we both taught at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and he has even cited some of my work. But I appreciate that Apple highlights that the American educational system is broken, and there is clearly a certain group that dominates the lower classes and African American people. I agree that curriculum should place more emphasis on who is being taught, however, not at the expense of quality instruction. But the hidden curriculum that only allows for a certain society to thrive, it just needs to be done away with. One theorist, though, that I struggle to find common ground with is Franklin Bobbitt. While Bobbitt does advocate for some moral dimensions, his viewpoint on curriculum is focused almost entirely on economic gains. It doesn't leave almost any room for personal culture, which he basically asserts as useless. His belief and structure of the curriculum is a perfect example of the issues that exist in the modern day curriculum. It focuses on one group of people and only allows for that group's economic gain because it's catered to them. Now, with the emergence today of more and more deaths of African American people at the hands of injustice, we're hearing a lot more about the need for culturally relevant pedagogy. And culturally relevant pedagogy and critical race theory are concepts that I started talking about in the 80s. So the fact that we're just now starting to hear more and more about it in 2023, it's evident that we still have a long way to go as a society in achieving equality within education. However, I believe that with united and consistent effort and maybe a little bit of hope, we will see the change that we so desperately need in today's educational system. And I hope to encourage young teachers that have this wonderful opportunity to shape these brilliant young minds. Do not accept the status quo of society. Be a change agent in your field and in your life. Believe in your students and believe in your ability as an educator to shape your students' minds and lead them to success. I'll leave you with a quote from someone that I admire, Dr. Derek Bell. Just because something is impossible doesn't mean it's not worth doing. Thank you.